Hello, hello, namaste, friends. We are starting in 1 minute. Hello, namaste, friends. Welcome to the 8th episode of Caste Conversation. I'm Pradeep Pariyar. Caste Conversation is a dialogue to understand the caste dynamics that affect our society, our lives, and our value system. Caste Conversation is an initiative of Dalit Life Matters Nepal to ignite solution-oriented dialogue for the elimination of caste-based discrimination and untouchability. Dalit Life Matter Nepal is a social movement to create a just society where every Nepali can enjoy life without the fear of being persecuted in the name of caste. It is an initiative to counter and fight back all form of caste-based discrimination and untouchability. A collective intervention to ensure every right of every single Nepali citizen is guaranteed in the Constitution of Nepal. Dalit Life Matter Nepal is a connection with the people to build a collective force and amplify people's power to eradicate any inequality, discrimination, and violence based on the caste system. Today's episode of Caste Conversation bring you Paul Divakar, is an advocate for Dalit rights, an expert on economic rights, and a human rights defender. He is the convener of the Global Forum on DWD, Discrimination Based on Work and Descent, a platform collectively emerged with the Dalit, Asia regions, Roma, Gypsies community, Europe, Haritine, Nino Africa, Columblu, Brazil community from different part of the world. Global Forum on DWD convenes the Social Justice Task Force of the Global Call to Action Against Poverty, GCAP. He served as the chairperson of the Asia Dalit Rights Forum, ADRF, which works in the South Asia region on inclusion and issues around untouchability and caste-based discrimination. He is one of the founding members of the National Campaign on Dalit Rights, NCDHR. He has been active in popularizing the sustainable development goals and bringing in the aspect of inclusion in the discourse on the new development paradigm. He is a former member of the executive board of Amnesty International. He has been recently voted by Outlook magazine as among the 50 most influential Dalit leaders in the India. I think more than that, globally, he has been actively engaging with the communities in strengthening access to justice, gender consent, especially on the intersectionality of gender and caste, financial accountability, transparency, and participation. His deep interest for the economic empowerment of the Dalit and DWD communities, advocating for equity, budgeting from the lens of the marginalized. Paul, welcome to the Caste Conversation.
Hi, Pradeep.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining with us. I have known Paul for a few years now. We have traveled together to participate in a couple of conferences. I know he loves food. I don't know he has food right now or not. He loves food. I have been to his workplace and he has visited Nepal many times. From the day I met him, I have always regarded as a mentor, my mentor and ally. His accent speaks louder than words, so I think he's one of the person I met all the time with the accent. A couple of weeks ago, Wilson Bejwada was here in the Caste Conversation. He told us about a bicycle journey around India and the wonderful experience he had learning about the Dalits. The everyday people of India, you are also part of it, Paul. I will begin today's conversation from the same memory, maybe that's back in 1998 or around that. Paul, when you look back, what change do you see in their lives? That's lives of the Dalit from that time to now. Is there any transformation in the lives of Dalits? How do you think we can start from here, and then you can take a couple of minutes on this, and then I have a follow-up question on this.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you, Pradeep. I think there has been tremendous amount of assertion that has been growing. For example, in India, about 20 years ago, the Dalit word was being popularized. Human rights, Dalit human rights word has not really gained much currency. It was seen more as a social evil. And I think since national campaign on Dalit human rights had started, the contribution that was made was, it is seen, the violation of Dalit rights is being seen as a violation of human rights. So it's not a social evil, it's a kind of a social inclusion, exclusion, yeah, all that, but it's a crime. Untouchability is a crime. It has been banned, but the fact that the popularizing of even calling by name, abusing, hate speech, the whole aspects of giving false witnesses, all that has been brought under the act, and that act has been popularized right from 1998, since national campaign on Dalit human rights has started. I think that Dalit rights are human rights as a slogan has come in much, much more strongly. And then Dalit as an Asian concept also has come. You know that in 2001 onwards, when we had started to take this issue to the UN, as you know, you're also part of it, the Nepali Dalit friends, the Bangladesh Dalit friends, Sri Lankan Dalit friends, Pakistan Dalit friends, Indian Dalit friends, Malaysian Dalit friends. I mean, we have all gathered together and taken this issue to the UN. And I think that is a major change. And as assertion grows, the visibility of atrocities are also is growing on the other hand. So which means increase in the number of recorded crimes against Dalits is also one of the factors which we are seeing. So the visibility has also brought visibility of the crimes and increase in the crimes. But there is a lot more of ensuring that the Dalit rights need to be taken much more seriously is a thing that has happened in the last 20 years.
Actually, I want to take you back again with this personal journey, how it's evolved. So this morning, I received a stimulating email from Professor Thorat. I read about that about 35 organizations came together and formed the National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights, NCDHR, 2 years before the 1998 Durban Conference. Later in 2001, the World Conference Against Racism, Racial Discrimination, and Xenophobia and Related Intolerance was held in Durban. Again, building on the foundation, the Asia Dalit Rights Forum, ADRF, was formed, and recently the Global Forum on Discrimination Based on Work and Dissent was held in New York in 2019. I was also part of that. You have played an important role in all these initiatives as one of the leaders. Reflecting back on these achievements, could you please take us through the journey of Dalit movement, and where has the effort reached to make it global agenda? So from the Durban conference to New York last year, it's almost 20 years. Can you go back with your journey and struggle, and then how you came up with the last year conference where we have this global forum on discrimination based on work and dissent? So I want to take you first, Durban, to New York. So can you take a little bit time on these questions?
Yeah. Let me just go back a little more and then share two things that have happened to my life, which had a very serious impact on the way that I have been pushed into the stream of the struggle for Dalit rights. When I was 19 and a half, around 20 years old, uh, we had faced a lot of violence against my family, as a mafia was trying to threaten my father, who has been challenging them in the areas of land grabbing. These were supposed to be for the broader community, but these people were trying to grab it, very, very high priced land in cities. And they threatened, they asked him to leave, they filed false cases, they even tried to assault him. And 2 times they tried to bomb the car in which he was traveling. And the third time we were all traveling and they blocked the road ahead. It was a little narrow road, the bridge, and they petrol bombed the car, and I was in the front. I got down to see what was happening, and then four litigants came and bombed the car. When I look back, my mother was caught in the flames and she died. My brother, my father were caught in the flames, but they survived. And I felt that preparation was not sufficient. We were not prepared. While we counter these people, it is necessary for us to be prepared, and prepared to fight as human rights. And I think that is one thing that I felt that, it should not, if I can help it, we should not let these things to go without any justice. And for 3-4 years, we fought the case. I was involved in a gruesome judicial, case, and finally the real people who were behind in the whole conspiracy were left off. The two others were caught, and of course they were sentenced to life. Then I decided I should get into the human rights. That's when I sort of felt that I need to get into the human rights. When I was in the human rights, we had initiated, we should work with the agricultural laborers. And agricultural laborers at the time, the trade union, we didn't really distinguish between the castes among the agricultural laborers. And one of the persons of an agricultural labor was killed. And some of the members came and told me, don't take up that case. It is because of some illicit relationship. Another group came and said, Anna means brother, this case, you really must take it up because it is done by a Reddy community. Reddy is a dominant caste community, and this person who died is Madiga community. And this person has been organizing us. That's the reason they have targeted him. And of course, it was a big story. We took the case up. They had actually buried the person. We got an order for exhumation. That means they had to take the body out and then prove that it was a murder. And then, of course, it went on and on for ages. But that's the time I really realized that there is human rights, but human rights can go on without really looking at the rights of the Dalits. And then I left those trade union and started.
When was that, Paul? When was that?
That was in 1989. And after that, I had initiated Ambedkar Cycle Yatra, where Wilson Bhai also would have told that he had joined. And we mobilized the youth, around 800 youth, and all over Andhra Pradesh. We split into 4, and we traveled for 1,800 kilometers, culminating in Hyderabad. You may have known one Gaddar. Gaddar is a very revolutionary singer. He came, and several others. We had brought in this and said, Ambedkar, human rights, and connecting it to the issues of violence that has been happening in our lives. And only after that, when a study was taken to look at the human rights, because this was mostly focusing on Andhra Pradesh, and in 1997, we started realizing that this is not just happening in my district or in my state alone. I come from Andhra Pradesh, South India, and it's happening in Tamil Nadu, it's happening in Kerala, it's happening all over. So that is when we had initiated National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights in 1998. So from that day that has happened, there are three things that had to be done. One, we had to Dalitize the Dalits. What is Dalitizing the Dalits? The Dalit youth mostly were involved in celebrating Ambedkar, of course, in protesting, but in taking this as a human rights issue and making sure that we have to come out visibly as Dalits. So which means the assertion of Dalits, you don't have to be ashamed of these identities. This is what Ambedkar also has said. And making sure many of the employees were in the shadows. They were not willing to come out. Many of the officials, many of the professionals, many of the students. So bring them out and Dalitize and bring them as Dalit organizations. Till now, the Dalit organizations at the time were not many. We had to literally, maybe we could all over India, maybe you had Martin Makwan at one place, you had Ruth Manorama at another place. These are the only few figures. Martin came a little later. So that's when we felt that has Dalitized the Dalits first. So bring out the Dalits from the shadows to assert their rights. Then second, we needed to visualize that what is happening to the Dalits. There was a feeling in those days, if you talk about untouchability, they'll say, huh? Where is untouchability? Did not Mahatma Gandhi take it away? It was there, several hundred years ago. It's not there now. So we have to say, sister, brother, Mahatma Gandhi may have talked about it, but he misled in the whole thing. Maybe he led India to freedom, but he led India to freedom at the cost of sacrificing the issues of the Dalits. Today, as you and I are speaking, there is untouchability. Untouchability doesn't exist only in Bihar. It exists in Andhra Pradesh. It exists in Jammu. It exists in Kashmir. It exists in Assam. It exists in all the four corners. It exists in Kerala. So there is not a single place. And the beauty of it is we have been dismembered. It's a very, very cruel word. We have been dismembered because under each small microcosm of village, under the hold of a few handful of dominant castes, each Dalit hamlet is located. That's the beauty, or that's the cruelty of this caste system. They have not allowed us to come together in one name. They have not allowed us to come together in one settlement. They have not allowed together to be in one area. Like the Palestinians. Suppose we were all in one area, by today we'd be the 7th largest nation in the world. So many of us. It's just in India alone. And of course, if all the Dalits matter to come together, they say that we'll be the 7th largest nation in the world. So they dismembered us. They didn't allow us to come together. They dismembered us also our names. I'm Madiga, you are Pariyar, there is Chakliyar, there is Musahar, there is Chamar, there is Mang. So many, thousands of names. So they don't have one single identity. And this, we felt that, let us unite together as Dalits, and Dalitize ourselves. And thirdly, this is, damn it, this is a crime. This is a crime against humanity. So therefore, we need to come out and bring this as a human rights issue, and any form of indignity, any form of exclusion, any form of hate crimes, hate speech, will be a crime that needs to be brought under the accountability of the law of the land. And for us, we have Untouchability Offences Act, and later we have PCR, Prevention of Protection of Civil Rights, and now we have SCST Protection, SCST Prevention of Atrocities Act. So that was the journey of the National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights. We said, let us for some time shift from the villages to the cities and proclaim the Dalit rights. So, because otherwise what, the mainstream media would not carry what we were doing. It is only, it will give one tabloid, one small column in the regional news. So bringing that to the mainstream, moving to the national capital. So we have moved from Chittoor, a small town in Andhra Pradesh, to Hyderabad and then to Delhi, and say in Delhi, in capital, we will come together as a group, as a hub, and then we have then had Dalit human rights defenders training of 1,000 people in ensuring that we are not no more victims, but we will turn ourselves into human rights defenders. And that time we saw the World Conference Against Racism. Then we felt that, oh, very good. First time the world is looking up, oh, how will it be? How many of us will go? What should we do? And finally, we pushed ourselves, and I was made one of the 3 chairs of the convening committee of the NGO World Conference Against Racism. So before the World Conference, there is a 3-day NGO conference on the committee. So all the civil society organizations looking at it. So because of that, or rather, it's not because of what I've done, it's because of the cause that they have recognized. They recognized 3 major issues: Dalits, Palestine issue, and the whole issue of African Americans, the race issue. So that's when, from that time of visibilizing and Dalitizing ourselves, we were able to make this the 3 major issues the world will have to consider, because it's one of the largest human rights violations for the longest period that are still cruelly continuing even today, as you yourself have brought out in the Dalit Lives Matter Nepal, how cruelly several people were murdered as recently as in April. Was it March? March, no?
May.
Yeah. And this were things like this were raised. I had a chance to address the heads of nations, one of the 3 people, and I talked about Namala Balaswamy. As we were actually planning to come to go to Durban 5 days before I started the journey, I visited the place in Mahbubnagar in Andhra Pradesh, where one of the activists, Namala Balaswamy, because he was organizing the Dalits, he was caught, lynched, put in a haystack, and burnt alive. And I made this, I brought this story, and Fidel Castro, at that time, he was one of the heads of state who was there. We cannot allow this kind of treatment, human rights go unanswered. So finally, he brought it out. Unfortunately, our country was misled, saying that if you talk about this, probably the same fate as happened to South Africa of the apartheid will be brought on India. So therefore, there was a wrong guidance that the Indian government has received from people who did not know how to make a best out of the, because India, all said and done, is the only country which has the amount of legislations, constitutional provisions, institutions, development schemes. No other country has it. Of course, it has a lot of negative things that has happened, but I think this is the journey that has driven me to take these interventions. We had taken around 200 people from India alone, And we had also at the time, just around that time, I had together with a few others initiated International Dalit Solidarity Network, so that we needed a solidarity body outside of the country to lift this up. So International Dalit Solidarity, together with the Dalit contingent, and I think many of you have also participated. Durga has participated, Bhakta, maybe you also participated.
Yeah, great. Can you just, from Durban, I want to take you this initiative called Asia Dalit Rights Forum and recently Global Forum on Discrimination Based on Work and Distance. Can you elaborate maybe in short why you think this is necessary? So from the Durban to ADRF and US Global Forum on Discrimination Based on Work and Dissent.
Yeah, I will. I don't know how much time I have, but let me try to be brief.
Yeah.
In this, as we were going to the World Conference, the strategy that we had used is what is called a sandwich strategy. Now, sandwich strategy is or a pendulum strategy. Sandwich strategy is we need movement from below. And that is what we have been doing for decades. 2 decades, I was really involved mostly in the movement work. As trade union, as a confederation of Dalit organizations and others, we were involved in this. But we felt for an issue of the marginalized and those who are assetless, and therefore those who are out of the power realm, you need another strategy to make things move. That is, you need pressure from top, and these both will have to really pressurize. And so with this, we went to the whole World Conference Against Racism by bringing the pressure. Now, what some of the countries have done is they said, "Oh, that is World Conference Against Racism. What has caste got to do with this? Caste is nothing to do with the whole issue of race." So instead of looking at the essence of the human rights violations that are caused because of systems like caste, like race, like indigeneity, like gender, they just went on into an academic kind of a debate, saying that caste and race, oh, this is not race, caste and all that. So then we understood that we need, is it really part of the race? And when we looked at it, of course, it is not, because race has different journey. What is the journey of race? The definition of race is one country colonizing another, and mostly it is northern countries colonizing, like say the British has colonized. I think maybe Nepal is the only one of the few countries which has not been colonized. But many of the Asian countries, African countries, Latin American countries, they were colonized. And when they colonized, the communities that are off the land, they started, there was a mixture of these races and they were enslaved. And so race and race-related issues were mostly to do with enslavement. But for issues of caste, it is not an external race which has come and colonized us. It is a hierarchy within the own culture. Now, there is no difference. I don't need to tell you that, we all like there is, I know people like Pradeep and all look more like Brahmins, but most of us are dark-skinned, right? And but otherwise, there is no difference. If you look at Pradeep and if you look at some Sharma or Varma or some Brahmin, there is no difference. He's as good looking, as sharp, as intelligent.
And look like a Brahmin, but I don't have a privilege of Brahmins.
You don't have the privilege. That's right. So it is not an external race. It is a hierarchy within. And this hierarchy has a glass ceiling. If I'm good, next birth I'll be born as a cow. The next birth only, if I'm a good cow, I may be born into a Shudra community. What nonsense. That means you are sealing the fate of a human being and completely restricting all social movement and social distance. And this needed to be continued to be raised. So we said two things. Race is one. It has its own structure internationally. Indigenous population. Then they said, okay, you please go to the indigenous. If you are not belonging to race, you belong to the indigenous. You be part of the indigenous. So some people said, yeah, we are also indigenous. But then indigenous said, hey, boss, don't come to us. We were the kings. And these Britishers came and they colonized us. And we are the indigenous people. Now, we have caste system. Indigenous people also have a caste system. They are not talking about that. And we want to have self-determination. Now, but that's not the issue of the Dalits. Dalits is we are excluded even in our own bedrooms, even in our own land. We are aliens in our own land. So this is a different thing. So that's when we started from the World Conference. Then we said we have to initiate a body of Asia Dalit Rights Forum, because we have to establish that there is a different aspect called discrimination based on work and descent. Why did the people said, why are you watering down the caste system? Why are, you must say caste system. Boss, only in Nepal, in India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Pakistan there is caste. In other cases like Africa, in other places like Japan, in other places like Latin America, like in Europe, you have different systems exactly the same. There is purity pollution, there is endogamy, that is prohibition against marriage, and there is occupied, stigmatized occupations which are forced work. And these three aspects are there in all these communities. So we can't call ourselves as caste, because if you then are caste, rest of the people are eliminated. So we need a broader category, and this broader category, finally the UN has recognized it as discrimination based on work and descent. They appointed special rapporteurs, and finally two set of special rapporteurs, Chin Sung Chung and Yozo Yokota, they have come with what is called principles and guidelines for elimination of discrimination based on work and descent. Actually, Kathmandu was the place where Chin Sung Chung and all of us had a conference along with the International Dalit Solidarity Network. I think Samata, FEDO, and several of the other organizations have also become part of that. And then that's where the principles and guidelines have come. So principles and guidelines and the third committee's general recommendation 29 are the two key elements that we got at the UN to say that discrimination based on work and descent, including caste, is against the principles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So therefore, it is a human rights violation which needs to be addressed globally. Now, this needed to be established. So we felt that Asia Dalit Rights Forum is very good, but we now have to build movements together with the other countries. So that's when we started relating with others. We visited Nairobi, we visited Somalia, we visited Ethiopia, Senegal, and had a conference both in Kenya, that is in the eastern part of Africa, and in Senegal, in western part of Africa. And we brought several African organizations who are working on discrimination based on work and descent. There, it is slavery. So Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Mauritania, Senegal, and there is one other country, Nigeria, who have all come together, and they have started what is called Africa Network on Discrimination Based on Work and Descent and Slavery, because they still call it, like say caste is the form of slavery here, they are calling themselves still a slave. And they told us the slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade between coastal Africa, west coast of Africa and UK, and west coast of Africa and US was primarily among not among any black African they caught and chained. It was basically the Dalits of Africa, the Haratin, the Shambara, the Nino, and several of these communities are the ones who have been caught, enslaved, and sold to these communities. So that means the traditional systems of slavery in Africa are the ones who have brought these issues of slavery even in UK and USA. But we needed to come together distinct from race. So therefore, we have had a meeting which was what is being shared by Pradeep. It's called we had an international conference on discrimination based on work and descent, where around 114 delegates from 21 countries and several UN bodies also came. And we declared ourselves as Global Forum on DWD on the one hand, and the parliamentarians also came. They declared themselves as International Parliamentary Forum on Discrimination Based on Work and Descent, IPFOD and GFOD. So that is one to prove that we need a separate declaration for elimination of discrimination based on work and descent.
Thank you so much for your elaboration. But still, United Nations is not recognizing as Dalit as one of the group. Still, we need to fight for that, and still they are recognized under the work and descent, which you elaborate very nicely. With just under 10 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal, SDGs, you work a lot on this also. How do you think the place to leave no one behind is progressing toward achieving SDG, and what is the space of caste-based discrimination on this? Still, we need to push United Nations to recognize Dalit is one of the group in the United system, which is not happening so far. So you are working so hard for this. Maybe we have more questions coming from the participant also. If you can give us like a brief answer, that would be great.
Yeah. What we'll need to do is wherever there is a space and where that space gives visibility and legitimacy for our demands, that one, DWD rights are human rights and we need a declaration, those spaces we began to occupy. There is no invitation because these people there's a very high competition for space in these UN bodies. So what we have done is that how do you get in? How do you get inside? So first, we were there right from the time, even before the SDGs were being formed, there was a gap between Millennium Development Goals and SDG goals, and it was called post-2015. And they were looking at the emerging principles. And from that time, that was 2013, as Asia Dalit Rights Forum, because that was the forum that we had, we started looking at how to take this issue so that we will be visibilized. So we fought, we gave several interventions, both written and oral. We attended almost every major meeting. There is a thing called, there was a lot of preparatory meetings, but governments pushed it. So then we said, okay, how do we get inside? How do we get inside? You need a thing. The way for the civil society to get into this is through a process what is called major groups and other stakeholders. That is, all the civil societies are brought under this major group and other stakeholders. You know that it is also a similar process in Asia. So we started with Asia, we're still continuing with the global, where we said DWD has to be recognized as a constituency. So once you recognize DWD as a constituency, then all the civil society will also, which is also being categorized as women, as aged, as youth, as children, as indigenous, about 18 category, LGBTQI on sexuality, on thematic issues of farmers, things like that. Now, after a 3-year major struggle, we have been accepted as the stakeholder at the Asia Pacific region. Now, taking that and taking our earlier pressure, we have started demanding, first you have to include in the, now the only thing left for us to look at is not targets, not goals, not targets, but indicators. So we are saying, while pushing our demand for indicator, we said that you also need to have a constituency, because we are 260 million people globally. So that is now being done. As a matter of fact, just day before yesterday, I've received a mail from the steering committee of the major groups saying that the constituency, that is the stakeholder group for discriminated based on work and dissent communities, are being in the process of recognition. So please give us your constitution. So we finished the constitution, we replied to them, and most probably anytime now, we will be given a status of a major group and other stakeholders. Now, what does it mean? That means whenever any agenda from the civil society is being considered, like you know that nothing goes without indigenous, without women, without farmers, without youth, and without children. And also now you have LGBTQI and AIDS and things like that. So in addition to all this, Dalits and DWD will be another group. We will be recognized in the civil society of the UN as one of the groups. So which means we will be part of the agenda making from the civil society to propose to UN. So this means from the back door, because the governments have not, from the back door we have come to sit as one of the stakeholders. I think this is a major achievement. And from now on, we will be taking, because now it is not just Dalits from Asia, Dalits from India, Nepal, no. It is Dalits and the global community of DWD are the ones who are now who are demanding a space for consideration in the rights, in the targets, in the goals. So therefore, this is a major step for us to have a declaration and probably a convention.
Yeah, so we need to push more to United Nations as well. So recently, Black Lives Matters movement got a global attention, as you know, but why Dalit movement is still not priority even at the national level and international level? We need to push a lot to United Nations as well. Do you think caste movement has to make a global priority? And similarly, adding to this, Bina also asks, Black Lives Matters has mobilized many groups, not from the Black community only, to stand in solidarity. Somehow we have not been able to do it in India. What do you think? So combine these questions, and then we have other questions also.
Yeah, I think one is the location of the blacks as part of the northern civil society has a tremendous advantage just by where they are located. I think we cannot compare the advantage and the vantage point that the American blacks have with the Dalit. So let's not make that mistake. Like for example, let me also put, similar to the slavery that America has, there is a slavery in Mali, in Mauritania, in Niger, in Nigeria. Now, have you ever heard of these? You may have heard of Black Lives Matter, but have you heard of what is happening to these communities? No. Now, why is it not heard? It is primarily because the northern issues get more. It's not that Dalits do not have solidarity bodies. It's not that Dalits have not banded together. It's not that Dalits don't have any solidarity with them. I think that's a wrong understanding at this particular time. Where we have to pitch it, it is the locational advantage, but we need to make our situation a little different. What we need to do, we need to look at a building what is called a strap handle. What is a strap handle? Like for example, if Ambedkar did not unite us of all the thousands of caste names, into one caste as scheduled caste or as Dalits, today, Pradeep will not even look at me because there is nothing that is common. Now, the only thing that is common is we are Dalits together, and therefore we have a common experience, that we have a common goal which we want to achieve. Now, we need to build a similar commonality binding us together with a strap, so that with one go, we will be able to talk about anybody. Pradeep should be able to talk about the black caste people in Africa, in Kilambola. Burakumin, for many years, they have been already trying to link with Dalits. Why? Because they wanted to build this band of communities which are similar. So I think the first step, and I think this is what now we as ADRF and Global Forum are focusing on. We are trying to build ourselves as a strong group with the Roma community, Roma, Gypsy, Sinti, Manush, Danu. These are the groups in Europe, right from Ireland or Turkey to Ireland to UK to Russia. You know, all these countries have these communities. All the Dalits in Asia, the Japanese, Buraku in Japan, and then all the African communities who are exposed and forced into slavery, Kilambola and several others in Latin America. Now, until and unless we pitch together, we may look different, but we call ourselves as the DWD community. We need to have a better word. I think this is something that I've been trying to push and propagate. We need to have a very, very attractive and mobilizing word as Dalits. And this we need to do. And I think then we will have a similar visibility like how the Black Lives Matter have.
Great. Kindly please put forward your questions to Paul if you have any in chat box. I have a few more questions, so let me take more questions here. So Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar said, if Hindus migrated to other region on earth, caste would become an old problem. It's a global now. The UK government Equality and Human Rights Commission in its 2014 research report said that the caste discrimination exists in the UK. According to the survey among South Asian American by Equality Lab, casteism exists in the United Nations. And I met one of my friends from West Indies, and there is an Indian community, and they also took caste in West Indies also. It is evident that the caste-based discrimination is now a global phenomena, a global issue. But why is caste still so off the agenda? You already mentioned some of the things. We don't have a better alliance. We need to pull more people on this. So maybe what young people can do on this especially? So I'm repeating same question to you again.
Thank you, Pradeep. I think this is very important. This brings out the other aspect. See, even in UK, there are two sides to this particular issue. One side is UK is saying that don't bring only your community issues to the law of land. Here, everybody is equal, and we do not recognize caste as a factor for discrimination. And I think that's why that whole case, two cases, I think one of a lawyer in a law firm which has been discriminated, who has been discriminated because he is from a Dalit caste, of course, Dalits as in Rajasthan, and the person who heads this law firm is a dominant caste. So therefore, this whole issue has come and the whole community has threatened. But there was also another case of the Cisco, and one of the persons who's giving support to it is Mr. Kevin Brown. And I've had a chance to be on a panel with him recently. So I was asking Kevin Brown, Kevin, that caste exists in India and wherever Indians go is very, very obvious. Okay, so good that you're fighting this Cisco issue, but where I'm a little, I'm not fully satisfied.
Paul, many people doesn't know about the Cisco case. Can you all bit elaborate on that?
Okay. Cisco, as you all know, is a multinational software company which is basically looking at communication and several other software that is needed for computer applications. It's a gigantic. I think it's larger than even Microsoft in the US. And one of the employees there has filed a complaint that he has been denied promotion primarily because the boss happens to be from a Brahmin caste, and he has come to know that this person is a Dalit caste. So he has not put him any in positions of advantage, or neither has he given him the due promotions. But whereas people who are with him, same cadre, same experience, same skill, are being promoted and given better deals. And it became a major issue, and they are fighting, and I think several people now are fighting this issue. And one of them who's fighting is by name Professor Kevin Brown. This is actually taken up by, supported by one Tenmuli from Equality Labs. She has really taken this issue of Dalits and Dalit women globally in several areas. But the professor who's supporting them, he's a human rights law professor. I was asking him, Kevin, you're so happy and we are so glad that you're supporting this issue. But there's another thing I'm finding. There is a caste in the race. How many dominant caste Africans have you sued in the US? Right? Now, as long as you don't bring that aspect, we will not win this case, because they will say this only happens to one peculiar community and therefore it's a different phenomenon. But if you can prove that there is discrimination based on work and descent in Africa, and so any caste community person from the South, any similarly affected community who has of slave origin, or DWD community from Africa, even though he's a black, he goes to America, or any Kilambola also goes to another Brazilian in America, there also there is a discrimination, just like how a Nepalese goes to US and finds discrimination among the dominant caste Nepalese, as Indians find, will also Africans find, will also Latin Americans find. Yes, that is the concept which is distinct from race. That is what we need to establish. So I think it is good that these are coming up, but we need not just again Indians or Nepalese who are filing these cases. We need an African to file a similar case. We need a Kilambola community. We need a Roma community person to file a case. So therefore, we can call this whole system, which is discrimination based on work and descent, as a separate category, requiring similar or greater protection than race, indigenous, gender, sexuality, or other aspects of discrimination. Persons with disability, we all need. And so why is it that only DWD communities across the world are not getting? So I think this is something that all of us will have to do. So when one appeal that you asked, Pradeep, we have to band ourselves, like how now we are so familiar with the Nepal sisters and brothers, right? Dalit women of Nepal, Dalit women of India, Dalit men, Dalit organizations in Nepal. We are exchanging. Now we need to have similar exchanges with other DWD communities. That's one thing that the youth, my appeal to the youth is, don't only, like say, I'm from Andhra, I'll pick up another Andhra, I'm from Madiga community, I'll only pick up Madiga people from outside. No. Not only Vishwakarmas go to Vishwakarmas, Parayar goes to Parayars, Chamars goes to Chamar. Please, that is the same caste system that we must break. So my appeal to the youth of today is, can you break at least the caste system that we are perpetuating by collaborating and creating solidarity only with our own caste identities, but go wider to DWD communities, make friends with the DWD caste communities in Africa, pen friends, chat friends, and then let's have organize. I think Pradeep, I will link you. Please organize one talk with honorable member of the parliament from Somalia, Muhammad
Somalia.
Nuruddin, whom you have met in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will be fantastic. Why don't we have a conversation, Muhammad Nuruddin, and we'll have another conversation with what's his name?
Yeah, we can do that, Paul. We have more questions here. I'll ask few more questions. Definitely, we'll organize that, and then Dalit Life Matter continuously organizing this, and then we have a very young and dynamic people with us, and then definitely we'll do that. We have more questions, and then we have a limited time. So can you answer briefly? We have a few more questions. Since you have already a long history of initiating and fighting the Dalit rights movement, do you see any paradigm shift in this approach at present comparing to 1-2 decades before? You have seen a paradigm shift in this approaches. Why the Dalit rights movement has still been failed to globalize its issues like other social issues? You want to talk a little bit about this. For example, women, gender, disability, LGBTIQ, indigenous. One of our friends, Krishna Gatraj, asks. You already answered. Maybe briefly, you can answer this. Paul, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't get the core of the question. So, what is the core of the question?
How can we paradigm shift about the issues? Okay, so you initiated a lot of things already. So it's already been 2 decades.
I think one major paradigm shift that we have done is we have to get inclusive with other castes like the Dalit caste, like the Nepal Dalit caste in other continents. This shift is the only way we can get UN to recognize this system of caste and similar systems of discrimination based on work and descent. So this is a major shift. We need to continue to drill in this shift.
Yeah, great answer. Yeah, we have questions from one of our friend and ADRF member. And caste issues should link with the class struggle, but we have to fight against untouchability. First, do you want to say anything on this? Caste and class struggle.
No, definitely. See, no. I think caste and class, more importantly, caste and gender, caste and sexuality, these are all critical things, so critical, and sometimes even more critical than the global issues. But then one cannot replace the other. Now, without this issue that we are now talking about, the DWD globally recognizing this as a category on par with race, indigeneity, and gender, this is the only way to get a recognition as a UN term, and also make sure that we have a protective measures, like how race has a protection, indigenous has a protection. We need that. And that is the only way to do it, is go as DWD. Now, I'm not saying don't do the other things. No, I will allow others to do that while I focus on this, and few others may focus on this, so that governments will take note. But within us, we have to look at gender, we have to look at sexuality, we have to look at class, we have to look at land, we have to look at budget, several other things I think we definitely need to bring in.
Yeah, we have more questions. One of our friend, Bisal Kamble, asks, do you think the casteism has been penetrated to Dalit also, that started them into different groups and prevent to work together on common agenda?
I think this is a thing which is affecting all the movements all the time. I think one excuse or the other that we'll find. Like say in Andhra, we are now into 3 major groups, Dalits. One is Mala, the other is Madiga, and the other is other smaller castes called Relli. Now, similarly in Maharashtra, similarly in Kerala, similarly in Tamil Nadu. Also, there some groups which are saying so. There is a kind of a demand to break this. Now, this is a democratic demand. Democratic demand, like say in Andhra, one particular community among Dalits is cornering all the posts, all the reservation, and others are not getting any representation. And when this is being perpetuated, definitely they will cry. They will say that, come on, we don't want. It has come to a situation, they said, if you see a Brahmin or a Mala, first kill the Mala and then only talk, because Brahmin may be better because Mala is the one who is oppressing you. This is the kind of a thing sometimes they have raised. And similarly, they are raising. So such things, I think we need to little restrain ourselves. There is a democratic demand and we need to have a processes for this democracy, but we cannot totally, Dalit women are demanding, we don't mind other kinds of oppression, but the oppression that is given by the Dalit men, it seems to be the most horrible the oppression that the Dalit women can face. Yes, because we are the nearest, we are harming them most. And definitely we need to bow down our head in shame when Dalit women raise these questions. We cannot ignore it. But at the same time, Dalit men therefore cannot say, okay, we will not work with Dalit women anymore. Or Dalit women cannot say, we don't want a global Dalit agenda. No. How do you build in the global Dalit agenda a Dalit women's leadership, Dalit women's assertion in this whole thing? I think those are the ways in which we need to bring together.
We have a last questions, and then I'll ask one more last questions, and then we'll wrap up the session in a few minutes. The Cisco case has brought the caste issues in a global platform. This shows how deep it caste and not just an issues of harassment by an employer. There is this network of upper caste operating across such companies. Due to such instance, they do not want to reveal their caste at work, though there are already ways to find their caste. So how does assertion of one's identity work in such cases? Supuna Bagdas asks these questions.
No, this is a very, very important question. This we are facing it all the time. All the time. In villages, in towns also, it's very easy to find one caste. You don't have to go and ask them what they are working. I just have to ask. There are about 16 ways of finding which caste you are without even asking what caste are you. I know, all of us know that, how to ask. Locally there. So however much you want to escape, there is no escape. The only way to escape is to turn around and lift your head up, look straight in your eyes and say, I will not allow this violation to happen. I will not allow you to anymore make me an inhuman. I will not allow you to anymore assault my sister, my brothers. Now, we can't show our backs anymore. So I think Suparna is partly right, saying that whatever you do, they are going to find out who you are anyway. So that balance will have to be there, continuous balance. Now, whenever Dalit issues come, they turn to me. Now I question them, Hare, I'm not here only because I'm a Dalit. I'm also an economic expert. I'm also a budget expert. I also am an international human rights law expert. So don't call me only when Dalit issues are there. Call me also when budgets, allocations, and international human rights law on other aspects also come. You do. So we need to continuously fight for our rights as Dalits, but we also have to make sure that we are asserting in all other ways as human beings. I think these two fights we have to continue.
Great. This is my last question for you. You work a lot in economic justice, and you recently mentioned about the budget. Do you want to say anything on this? And same time, you can add final message to young people, combine these two questions together. And this is the final question for you, Paul.
Okay, thank you, Pradeep. I think there are two things that move the world. One is power, which is political power, which is your caste power, which is your community power and all that. That is one. And the other thing that moves is the amount of economic rights or money. I don't say it's only money. It's a whole question of economic rights, access to land, access to employment, access to um, markets. All these aspects are critical for one to have a minimal human rights in a whole life experience. And so while we say, human rights, political assertion and all that, which we are doing through this, the agenda of Dalit rights or human rights, and fighting whenever there has been a violation of our rights, we have to recognize exclusion from economic rights is another human rights violation that we need to fight. We have not sufficiently started this area very much. I think we have to, one of the easiest way to do this is through the entitlements from the state. So whether it's the schemes, whether the budget, whether it's the allocation of resources to communities, to the kind of electrification or access to water or employment to communities. These are very, very, very critical things. And exclusion happens there. We need to visualize this. And we need to democratize the way budgets are allocated. And there is discrimination in these budgets. So these we need to essentially address, along with gender rights, along with sexuality, and along with several other rights of persons with disability within the community, those who are further discriminated by religion. I think all these things are very, 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 very critical. So the youth, I would like to say, is first, you already are in the arena. You now need to make your strong voice in all these. I think in SDGs, more and more, I think, like we've just seen, I think 2 days back was the International Youth Day, or 3 days back. It was
August 12, yeah.
yeah. And so we have to, the Dalit youth will have to occupy these spaces. And if they have to occupy the spaces, persons like me who have had the privilege need to make space and also need to ensure that some of the advantages, some of the spaces that we've had are also made available to you. I think this is a responsibility that we both will have to do. But please do not be stopped by people like me or the other age communities, but just go and then do what you have to do to ensure both the economic rights, the political rights, the cultural rights, the gender rights, and the education rights for the community are being realized. Jai Bhim.
Now need to pass the leadership light, torch light to younger generation, Paul.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Paul, for joining us today. We have come to the end of today's episode of Caste Conversation. On behalf of Dalit Lives Matter Nepal, I want to thank you everyone for solidarity. Thank you for joining. I'm also thankful to my friends, Roshan, Prakriti, Bridiga, Sulkachana, Vikas, Vijay for making this possible. Friends, we'll see you next week with another guest to talk about the caste questions. This is Caste Conversation. I'm Pradeep Paryar signing off for today. Thank you so much, Paul. Namaste. Stay safe wherever you are. Stay safe and stay happy. Thank you. Jai Bhim.
Jai
Thank
Bhim.
you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.